This actual play is intended for mature audiences and contains themes some viewers may find upsetting. Please check each episode's show notes for specific content warnings and enjoy the show with care.
Okay, so we are here with session 3 of The Between. Let's do our recap. You currently have 2 active threats, the Limehouse Lurker and the Demon of Kilburn Abbey. On the Limehouse Lurker, you have answered the threshold question of is the vampire young or old? And indeed, it is young. It is a child. And that has unlocked a new question. This question is, if it's a child, what was its home life like? It's a complexity 4, and the opportunity is it allows you to resolve the threat by luring the vampire to you, essentially, presumably in a scene reminiscent of its home life, but you can kind of play with that a little bit, and then either destroying it or making arrangements for it to safely feed on a regular basis. And so that is sort of what happens there with the Limehouse Lurker. You have 1 clue available on that complexity 4 question. I will also remind you that it is on a clock. There are 3 night phases remaining before we have a massive vampire outbreak in London, so bear that in mind as well. The Demon of Kilburn Abbey, this is the one, if you'll recall from last time, where they unearthed a body walled up inside the abbey, and doing so unleashed a demon into the abbey. And the demon has been, it's pretty ruthless, nasty demon, doing really horrible things to the brothers of the abbey. And you have 1 question here, which is quite simply, how can we lure the demon to us? Complexity 6, resolve the threat by luring the demon into a trap and then performing a banishing ritual. You have 3 clues on that complexity 6 question. That one's also on a timer. It's a 3 night phase timer, of which there are 2 night phases left. If all 3 night phases tick by, then the demon is unleashed from the abbey and can roam around the city. You also have a mastermind question that is hanging over the campaign. We didn't see the mastermind last time. Well, at the very end we did, I guess. But basically, we want to know what is Mrs. Brathwaite's plan to destroy the crown. That is a complexity 8 mastermind question, and you have 2 mastermind clues currently. The last one was revealed at the very end of the session last time. If you perhaps you stuck around and watched that, or perhaps not. But in any case, we did get that second clue last time. And so that is where things stand in terms of the threats and the mastermind. Taking a look at the hunter, I do think it's always worth checking in on conditions. Right now, Haskell, you are sort of under suspicion because of your climbing about on buildings. Dr. Mortimer, you are marked by the prankster, which is this, if I recall correctly, we determined it's this like entity that is connected to Ms. Jean-Baptiste, right? Do I have that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes,
Yeah.
she's sort of lurking behind the eyes of anything that we seem to be
Yes,
encountering, trying to frighten us in any
that is
given
right.
way.
Correct. And then Phoebe, you have said voice in your head as well as unnerved. As ever, we'll be picking up a couple of days after the events of the last night phase. One thing I will note before we dive into the day phase, your opportunity to change your dawn questions, this is a good time to do so if you haven't done so. So if you want to change your role-playing focus, I would go ahead and change your dawn questions now. One other thing I want to remind you all of is last night phase, you decided to do a Hargrave House night phase instead of a London night phase. And in doing so, we learned the story of a former hunter in residence Godfrey Rathermere and his rather unfortunate fate. But doing all of that, first of all, gave you some new items for your personal quarters, but also unlocked a brand new move. When you have the Cosmic Passage marked, that's one of the masks of the future. When you have the Cosmic Passage marked and manipulate the map room's orrery, roll with sensitivity. On a hit, an alternate version of you is transported into this reality, just like happened to poor Godfrey. You get to choose one from a list of options and describe the most notable difference in your parallel self's appearance or bearing. Writing the worlds and sending them home is as simple as returning the orrery to its correct alignment. However, if you're hit as a 7 to 9, the orrery breaks after you use it and you no longer have access to the move. Your options on a hit, you can essentially, you basically get to switch with them for a little bit and you get their abilities and scores and things, or their abilities and their look and stuff. Alternatively, their version of Hargrave House from their reality made quick work of a threat you're currently facing. The details aren't the same, but their insight is nevertheless invaluable, and you gain advantage on an associated answer a question roll. Now that's astute viewers will note that's unheard of. You'd never get advantage on answer a question. This is a way to get advantage on answer a question. Or the third option, their version of Hargrave House failed to defeat the mastermind yours is currently facing. They failed to dire consequence. They will reveal a mastermind clue, the significance of which they didn't grasp in their timeline. There's one other thing to mention about this move. If you get a miss, you are the one transported to their dimension, and I will describe your horrific new reality you're marooned in, from which you'll never find your way home. So the stakes are high. The rewards are high, but the stakes are high on that move. So any questions about the recap, this new move, anything else? Fantastic. Then we will go to the day phase. It is the day phase, and if you have less than 3 active threats, I present a brand new one, and we do have a third threat. It is Sally No Face. The Daily Telegraph has a story about a washerwoman named Clara Yarborough, who was found dead in a hallway of her tenement house in Whitechapel. Her face had been carefully removed. This is the third such crime this month. The other 2 victims, Edward Clive and Dolly Merriweather, also lived in Whitechapel. People are already saying it's old Sally No Face who's doing it. But Sally No Face, of course, she's just a legend. Children have been singing her song in the streets for as long as anyone can remember. Poor old Sally, trapped in a fire, her looks burnt up without a trace. If you're lovely with fate most dire, she'll come and take your lovely face. Haskell, you have a history with the victim, Clara Yarborough. What is it?
I think Haskell knows the person who owns the laundry where Clara works, and Haskell, in exchange for having Hargrave House's more sensitively dirty washing cleaned, and in exchange for her discretion, he gets things for this owner, and she distributes them amongst the men and women who work in the laundry. And Haskell knows Clara because she's one of the only people who asks for something a little sentimental rather than something functional. Because whereas he gets kind of supplies and, essentials for other people, she's more interested in trinkets, I suppose. And I think in this instance, it is decorative thimbles. And he's been supplying her with thimbles he's her thimble connect, basically.
Interesting indeed. Well, poor Clara, you're going to have to do something about her killer, Hargrave House, especially because it seems like Scotland Yard is not up to the job. She's already killed 3 people. You have 3 questions here, any one of which can be pursued. The first is, where is the killer hiding? That's a complexity 4. Resolve the threat by infiltrating the killer's lair, then capturing or destroying them. Alternatively, how is the killer choosing their victims? Complexity 6. Resolve the threat by luring the killer to you, then capturing or destroying them. Finally, what is the true identity of the killer and what drove them to this madness? That's a complexity 8. Resolve the threat by empathizing with the killer, then bringing them in peacefully. You don't have to choose which one to pursue now. You collect clues generally, and when you get ready to answer a question, you can decide which one you want to answer. I will note here too, you might be wondering, well, why wouldn't we just do the lower complexity questions because they're easier? Well, the way this works is the lower typically if the complexity is lower, the resolution is harder, or more dangerous. So yes, finding Sally's lair is the easiest thing, but then you have to face her on her terms and on her turf, right? So that's sort of how that works. That might be why you would choose to answer one or the other. You also have an aspect of the Janus mask available called the Mask of Beauty, if you need that. And this threat is on a timer. After 5 night phases, if you have not resolved it, Sally No-Face will become a servant of Mrs. Brathwaite, and the threat can no longer be resolved. So, that is where things stand. At this point, I'm going to go around the table. You have 3 threats terrorizing the streets of London. Well, one of them not the streets yet, just the Abbey, but it perhaps will be soon enough. But 3 monstrous things, 2 literal monsters and 1 figurative monster in Sally No-Face. Let's find out what everyone wants to do. I'm going to start with Dr. Mortimer.
So I'd like to think that over breakfast, Dr. Mortimer is shaking the Daily Telegraph, wiping something red from the side of her mouth. Could be jam, but let's not assume. Sees the story of Clara Yarborough and Sally No-Face, and her eyes go wide, and she looks down the table to Phoebe and to Haskell and flips the paper over and shows them somewhat excitedly. Now,
I think it's worth pointing out as well that you are supposed to be the most skilled surgeon in the city, Dr. Mortimer, but Sally No-Face is carefully surgically removing faces, and that means they are also a very skilled surgeon.
This has captivated her attention, and she sort of wildly looks between the two and is like, if you need me today, you will find me in Whitechapel. And tucks the paper under her arm and almost flees from the breakfast table, grabs her coat, and calls for a carriage somewhat immediately.
Fantastic. Well, Haskell, what will you be doing then?
If people want a vulnerable scene with me, Haskell is available. His services are available. But I'm not in any hurry to clear my suspicious. So I think I'm going to head down to Limehouse because I feel like I'm all in on the Lurker. I feel like that's my turf now. So I think I'm going to go to the opium den because I'd like to. The only victim I've not investigated is Soft Jimmy, who's still there. I think he's still in the basement, so I think I'll go down there.
Yeah, I think a trip to the opium den sounds like a great idea because you actually did not yet investigate where he was found, because you'll recall he was found in the opium den. So
yeah, so I'll go and speak to Jenny maybe.
That's a good one. Ms. Jean-Baptiste?
I think Phoebe watches the doctor leave the table in a hurry. She's very quietly sketching and resketching the symbol that was carved into the skin of that gentleman. So, oh, well, She seems excited about something. And I think she's thinking about that room. She didn't go into it, but the room that she saw in the vision that girl was boarded into, the room that
Oh, yes.
The demon can't quite leave, apparently. She wants to go in there.
Yeah, well, the demon can't leave the Abbey, to be clear.
The Abbey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Why don't we pick up with Whitechapel, actually? Londoners can tell me for sure, but I'm pretty sure Limehouse and Whitechapel are in the same part of town, right? So you both could maybe ride together, but I'll but I'll leave that up to you.
Well, I
Why
was
not?
actually going to ask the doctor if you did want to clear any of your conditions, if you wanted to have a vulnerable move, but it would have to be your vice. So have a think about that if that's what you want to do.
I want one.
Okay.
With Haskell. So, but
I'm in demand for once.
Indeed. So long as Phoebe requests it, you can definitely have it. What is are we doing morphine in the morning here, Ms. Jean-Baptiste? Like, what's going on?
Why not? But did you want to do the Whitechapel scene first or the vulnerable scene first?
I think you should all probably do it before you split up. That seems like the wise move. So maybe before, while you're still at the house that morning. Just frame up the scene, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Are we able to both do one, or like sort of collectively, or does
in the new
edition?
In the new edition of the game, you can all be in the vulnerable move scene, and indeed you can only do one per phase.
Okay, let's do that then.
And I'll remind you, if one of you in particular wants to have the freedom to talk about your past, it has to be your vice in play. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind as well.
Understood.
But whoever's vice it is, please frame up the scene.
As someone with more conditions and as a doctor, I would medically advise you take a vulnerable scene.
How kind of you. I think as Phoebe has been sketching this symbol, trying to cross-compare it with things that she is familiar with, her hand begins to tense and shake. The ink doesn't flow as well as it should. And she just curses under her breath for a moment. The little bag that she carries with her, she reaches into it and almost without thinking places this small box on the table. It's flat and not necessarily obtrusive in any way, but the instrumentation that once she opens it, you look inside and you can see what looks like a series of vials and then a needle as well.
I see you're in need of something a little stronger than tea this morning. Please, use one of mine. And the doctor will reach into a coat, pull out a very similar looking box, and drop it onto the table.
I think Haskell's going around just kind of closing the curtains again, having it over the morning.
Oh, quite generous of you, Dr. Mortimer.
Not at all. I despise unclean instrumentation when undertaking something so delicate. Haskell, would you please ensure that Miss Jean-Baptiste has everything that she requires in the aftermath? And accompany her when she leaves, if you wouldn't mind.
Very good, Mum.
Now, if that is all, I will be departing.
Once the doctor leaves, I think Phoebe to Haskell. You don't quite have to do that, Haskell. If you'd rather be other places, I can handle myself.
I'm sure you can, miss. But it's best to have a safety net. I've seen where this can go.
I'm normally fairly good about portion. It's just... Do you know much of pain, Haskell, within?
I know enough, miss.
Sometimes this ache emerges and I can feel it almost like a fever between my joints and my bones, and this works well enough to quell it at times. I can feel the edges of it. I try to get ahead of it so I can work, continue, function. It's a bit embarrassing, but we do what we must.
Yes, miss, we all have our ways to blot out the sun, as it were.
Still thinking of your quarry, then?
I can't but think of it, miss.
It's good to be so focused.
That's one way to frame it, miss.
Well, thank you for escorting me after. I'm not used to having such kind assistance.
Be careful what you wish for, miss.
I don't wish often.
That's a wise choice.
Fantastic. I think if we take a look at the move, you get to each clear a condition if you can make the case that the scene would have helped you clear it. Phoebe, perhaps unnerved, or the voice in your head.
I was aiming for unnerved.
I think that resonates with me. It sounded like you weren't quite yet interested in clearing yours, Haskell.
I wasn't, but I was just wondering whether could it be as simple as like before we leave, I change my outfit that I was wearing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And that was what I was wearing when I was seen, so like I would perhaps be less suspicious.
Yeah, you can certainly clear that. And you both get to also, all three of you technically, because Dr. Mortimer was there as well. You all get to define a clue. Dr. Mortimer, I don't know if you can make the case for clearing the prankster
I'm
condition.
fairly certain I can't. Unless Phoebe opens the box and it turns out there's like a pop-out snake in there or something.
Exactly.
I know.
The
Sorry.
prankster is satisfied and goes away. You all do get to define a clue, however, for any of the threats. It's up to you. So be thinking about that. I'll follow up with you later on it. And let's now pick up in Whitechapel. So, Dr. Mortimer, you're there. What is your approach here? Are you going to go try to find a body? Are you going to her apartment? Like, what's your plan?
I'm going to go and take a look at the body. Mortimer is very much more interested in the surgical precision in which an entire face was so seamlessly removed. That will give us an indicator as to where this person might have learned such skills. So her mind is very much flickering back to all of the surgeries she's watched, all of the galley visits, and who she might know among her peers that could be capable of this.
Here I have to think about the mortuary. Do we suppose this would be the same mortuary that Dr. Gastrell is at? Or would he be in a different part of the city, I wonder?
It's hard to tell with these doctors and work that happens so close together within, a matter of days. And I guess suspicious cases.
Yeah, and also, like, we've established that you do this work when you're not doing Hargrave House work, right? So you walking into a mortuary is really no trouble. Yeah, so let's say that just because I think it's interesting, I'd like for this to be the one that Dr. Gastrell is at. You know him probably well because he's popped by Hargrave House. You've worked with him, whenever they pull up a body out of the river, and you hear him playing his music as he does, and he's even singing. He's doing like a little tenor kind of situation, little opera thing. You can hear him. It's kind of muffled, in the back room. He's very
a
eclectic.
muscle feathers in Mortimer's jaw before she sucks in a very tight breath and opens the door.
He's kind of au sole mioing to a dead body on a silver table. What do you do?
Just as dead behind the eyes as the people on the slabs, walks in. Dr. Gastrell.
Ah, Dr. Mortimer. Hello.
I heard you before I saw you, as is wont. Pray
We all
tell.
approach our work in different ways, Dr. Mortimer.
Don't we just? I am looking for Clara. Like, she pulls out the telegraph and looks at the name again. Clara Yarborough would have been brought in this morning, I assume.
Oh, yes. I figured you would be here as soon as you saw that report in the telegraph. And he takes you right over and flips the covering off, and at a glance, I will tell you that this killer's work is incredible. I don't even know if in any of the literature there's any examples of people surgically removing a face, but this person did an exquisite job of it. It is a nearly pristine, not at all ragged edge all around the face, showing exposed muscle and gums and teeth and eyeballs. Remarkable, isn't it? Dr. Gastrell says.
The Dr. Mortimer barely contains just a loud swallow. Fascinating.
Yes. I haven't gotten to know this one very well yet, so I'm not sure what type of conversationalist she is or is not, but you are welcome to take a look. Put in a good word for me, will you?
I will do no such thing, but as with all conversations, they are best had between two people and no more. Would you mind giving us a little space?
Indeed he does.
And with that, her entire the minute that door closes, her entire body drops with the tension. There's no music playing, or is the music still playing in the room?
He'll turn it off. He knows that will bother you, so he'll lift the needle on the way out.
Okay. Then I needn't to do nothing else to that yet. I would like to observe and to examine the body and use beneath the skin as a move, please.
Fantastic. Go ahead and ask your questions, and then we'll get to this. We'll come back to it.
I may ask the keeper two of the following. How did this person die? The keeper will answer with a clue.
Okay. And what else? You can hold it, but as long as I just know what to think about.
No, I'm going to... Her hands are twitching for the forceps, for the multi-tool. I want the body part so badly. But aware that we have the Lurker and... not the golem. Was it the golem? No, the demon. The Lurker, the demon, and now a serial killer on the loose. I'm going to opt with what would an untrained eye overlook here? The keeper will answer with a clue.
Indeed. I mean, you can still try to take a body part So there's nothing.
I
to
mean,
stack
or
here.
yes, absolutely. I'll
You're
take
just
all three if that's available.
you're just going in a little blind. Like there might be
Yeah.
somebody watching, so who knows? We'll think on these questions. I'll think on these questions in a bit and come back to you in a bit.
Thank you.
I am curious, but be thinking of what the actual examination looks like. I kind of like. I just like to know how Dr. Mortimer works, I guess.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Ms. Jean-Baptiste, I would like to suggest that since it's been a couple of days since the events of the previous night phase, that maybe the abbot has things somewhat under control right now. If you mention brothers crawling on the ceiling and doing other nasty things, and indeed, I think one guy didn't he take a shard of glass and try to do something, or he did do something?
There was a tongue involved. He cut his tongue out.
That's right. The abbot has done a pretty good job keeping all of that under wraps. None of it hit the papers, and and so I think really it's the events of that night are really only known to you and Ms. Quinn, right? What's your approach here? What are you going to do as you go to the Abbey?
I think going to meet with Cecelie that day was the furthest that she stepped into any sort of house of godly nature in a while. and so she gets again as far as the foyer and just looks around for a moment. I'm guessing there's not that much of a bustle happening if everyone's trying to keep things under control.
It's pretty quiet, yeah.
I think she takes a breath and then asking to the air, but not necessarily the air, are you still there?
Are you trying to contact the thing behind your eyes or the demon?
Oh, the thing behind my eyes for a start.
Go ahead and make the information move with vitality.
Information move with vitality. What is my vitality? -1. Mercy. Okay. Okay. It's 5.
Oh, we're here, all right. I've been wondering how long it was going to take you to bring me back. I'm so happy.
Well, I was rather enjoying the peace and solace of my own mind.
And at this point, you find yourself, since you got a miss, I'm going to take over the fiction. You find yourself, since this was a vitality roll, either the demon or the entity assisting the demon, or maybe just the entity behind your eyes. But in any case, you find yourself quite you become very stiff. Your arms fly to their sides, almost like on the cross, right? And your head kind of snaps back, and you are lifted just ever so slightly so that the tips of your boots are dragging along the stones, and you are being pulled deeper into the Abbey. As you are pulled deeper into the Abbey, you see things, terrible things. There's a painting inside the Abbey which seems to have a host of demonic entities, like a kind of staring at you, sneering at you, beckoning you to come closer, angry that you just keep gliding by. You hear knocks and faint screams coming from inside the walls. At one point, you see a monk, tears and mucus smeared all over his face, tearing out pages of the Bible and rubbing them on his face and then sticking the wet pages onto some sort of weird nest-like construct that he's making in the corner of the abbey. And you just keep gliding deeper and deeper into the abbey. And here you are now being drawn down into the basement, down into the wall that's been cracked open. And you might even be having flashes of insight again of the girl who was walled up behind the wall. You have an opportunity to resist this somehow. What do you do? I'll also note that this might be a great opportunity to use a personal quarters item to help with the roll. Because you're going to be at disadvantage because of the voice behind your eyes. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first things first, let's do the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
If I fail, they're going to shunt me in that room and it's going to start to break itself up.
Yeah, and I have to say how it's worse than that. You are bricked up, and I think the demon will use you as essentially like an arcane battery in storage, and it will roam about drawing power from you as it wishes.
Fun.
So
Fun.
Please just tell me how you're resisting if you're using a PQ item, and we'll get some dice on the table. Think on it. I'm going to check in with Haskell.
Thanks.
Haskell. You are at the Opium Den, and it is very similar as I previously described the last time we were there. People from all walks of life, the thick smell of ammonia. Jenny Johnston, she doesn't care that you look around. She's happy to greet you and help you in any way that you need. But what do you do? What's your approach?
So I think I'm going to be pretty direct, and I'd like to talk to her about, because Soft Jimmy was a sex worker, is that right? It was kind of, yeah. So I just kind of want to figure out who, if he kind of played his trade in the Opium Den, and who he might have been speaking to. And I think Haskell's fine with, and if Jenny's open to it, just walking up and striking up a conversation, and because the bodies are still in her basement, right? This is pressing. So I might actually lead with maybe talking about how Hargrave House might help remove those bodies.
Let's get dice on the table. Go ahead and make a information move with presence.
Okie doke. Boxcars. 12.
Cars. Ooh, that's a mastermind clue as well. Intriguing. I'll start with the first part. Jenny says, well, of course, I'm happy to tell you whatever I know. That young man, he was good. He was not. I think he was troubled, and I think, well, I'm not really in a position to judge his chosen profession now, am I? We all have got to do what we have to do in order to get by, to build something for ourselves. She says, of course. not everyone is so open-minded. I have to tell you, Haskell, in the last few days, my patrons have reported someone from the shadows chastising them for the vice of smoking the poppy. I have other customers who are in the same line of work as Soft Jimmy, and they too have heard this voice telling them to seek different employment, to seek something more moral. People imagine all sorts of things when they smoke the poppy, and so I'm not inclined to always pay attention to what my patrons say and give it much credence, except for the fact that there is something clearly going on here, and I do wonder if it's connected to the killings. Was perhaps Soft Jimmy targeted because of his trade?
Could it be, not wanting to diminish what your patrons have so clearly seen, whether or not their eyes were clear, I can't be the judge, but could this simply just be explained away as some puritanical member of the local temperance movement, perhaps? Or what do you think? You've seen some things, I would wager.
I could agree with that theory, Haskell, if it wasn't for the fact that almost everyone says the person chastising them was in the ceiling, in the rafters.
I think that's Haskell's. The hairs on his arms have gone up, and he checks, I think, very, very briefly to see if there's anything there. And I think I've got the other clue, if people are interested in folding this in.
Oh, sure. Well, the clue that you do have, just to put a real fine point on it, is the Lurker is apparently kind of judgy when it comes to morals. So.
Yeah. So this ties into that. I think that. Do you remember when I was on the roof last time and I found the Bibles with the pages missing? Mm-hmm. I think there was something else I saw up there, but I kind of discounted it at the time. But they are slatted wooden numbers, and they are the numbers that they put up to indicate what hymn is being sung next at church.
Oh, good, yeah.
And I think this explanation of perhaps this kind of puritanical streak, the Bibles, and me now realizing what that is, it has to be connected. If everyone's okay with that as a clue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic. I owe you a mastermind clue as well, and we'll get to that in a bit. Let me check back in with Dr. Mortimer. Dr. Mortimer, let me answer your questions. The first of which was, how did this person die? Well,
Would you like me to describe the...
Oh, yeah, give me the procedure. Yeah, please do.
So at this point in the mortuary, I'd like to think that Clara, aside from her face, were untouched, and so Dr. Mortimer begins the autopsy. And so she begins the ritual. And a part of her curses as she realizes that the box in which she gave Phoebe that morning contained some of her better scalpels as well as her better needles. Such is the price of kindness in this world. But she always carries a spare. And so from her pack, she sort of pulls out that very functional multi-tool that is all handcrafted together and begins to cut from the collarbone down through the sinews to the soft cartilage of the sternum, and again to the other side, this beautiful, mirrored, symmetrical ritual that she has performed 100 times, if not more. The incision slips down across her breasts and over her stomach, through just around the belly button to the groin. And all of a sudden, that slow composure, that consideration slips for a moment. And her hand, the hand not grasping the multi-tool, just dips into her stomach and clenches around the intestines and reaches up through the rib cage and grasps at the heart, moves through the lungs. It is a sweet release. And most importantly, it would seem that all the vital organs are there. She regains composure, pulls the hand out, and, as is more procedure, separates every single part of Clara until there is no secrets left about her other than her bones.
Indeed, indeed. That's going to probably take up your whole day, Phase, right? But that's okay. You are going to get 2 clues here. The first, how did Clara die? Well, I will tell you that you would have noticed as you were cutting into her that there was what seemed to be like a darkening of the veins.
Oh.
And in fact, as you get a little bit more into it, you realize that she was poisoned. And so Sally must use some sort of poisoning or numbing agent or something, some kind of toxin against the victims. What was the second question?
The second question was, what would an untrained eye overlook here?
Oh.
Can I suggest something?
Sure, please do.
So in knowing that a poison or a paralytic has been at play here, I would then like to take the opportunity to look around for a puncture mark in the skin. Because if it is not there, or if it is in at the corners of the eyes, under the fingernails, in all of the places that junkies wouldn't really dare tread, but I've watched Phoebe a number of times engage. I'm aware of the places that needle marks show. So if I can't find them there, then maybe it was ingested.
An excellent approach. And indeed, your second clue, you don't see any marks that would indicate like an injection, but something that you notice that perhaps a less astute eye would miss is that there's a bit of red smudge around the edge of the sliced off face, which you could very easily guess that would be blood, but in fact it is not. It is rouge.
Rouge.
That is your second clue.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Gastrell comes back. Or actually, well, you can hear him. He's getting ready to come back. You've been in here a while cutting up the body. Are you going to try to take a body part too?
Yes, I am.
I want the day move then for that.
Okay.
What are you afraid is going to happen if you get caught?
Well, Gastrell will see. And that will be the worst thing possible.
I can confirm that is true.
I like to think he's probably a blabbermouth in our society, somewhat looked down on, and I've more than once absolutely besmirched his name. And the idea that he would see me compromised in that scenario would mean that then my name would be where his name is now.
Indeed. Let's get dice on the table. It's going to be with composure.
Okay. I'm so afraid of this. I'm going to mark my forceps / multi-tool as I use this to cut off and use this with advantage.
Fantastic. Roll 3 and take the 2 highest.
So that is a 4 and a 6. So I'll take the 10.
What's your composure?
My composure, I don't think is very good. My composure is 1.
So that would be an 11.
11, okay.
I tell you what, I'll make you a little offer.
Oh.
If you put on a mask and bump it up to a 12, I'll also give you another clue.
I'll put on a mask.
Indeed.
I'll put on a mask. A mask of the past, or one from
yeah, it has to be the first of the Mask of the Past or any of the
okay.
future.
So with the Mask of the Past first, unmarked box is you lost someone very important to you. Who were they? Name them. As Mortimer quickly and deftly makes the last stitch, putting Clara back together again, she observes the body and then actually sees something that she's not actually focused on this entire time, because the face has been missing, but the eyes remain. The eyes, they're the same blue, same beautiful baby blue that hers were. Cora. Her name was Cora Stockhill. And that wasn't her stage name.
Fantastic. We'll pick up this scene and I'll give you that clue in a bit, Dr. Mortimer. Let me check in with Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Ms. Jean-Baptiste, how are you going to resist this?
My hands are extended outwards. Do I feel like they're trapped in that position, or can I move them?
I think with some force of will, you can move them, yeah.
So Phoebe is going to reach again into her bag. The first thing that her hand would land on is this tarot deck that she carries with her, but it is all the devil.
It's all devils.
But feeling that she's going to draw one and slap her hand against the bricks that are the walls down here as she's being dragged against her will. Say, do you think you are the only things that whisper in the night? I dread you find something far worse. I dread it for you, should you try this. And I'm going to try and intimidate them to let me go.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. Go ahead and make the roll with, we'll say sensitivity, and it'll be 2d6 because your item cancels out the disadvantage. So
thanks. 7.
Fantastic. This is the night move. If I remember correctly, I think I have control of the narrative on a 7. Let me just confirm that's true. On a 7-9, you do it or hold steady, but there's a complication or cost. I describe what it looks like. Okay, great. I'm going to think about this. I'm going to check in with Haskell briefly. Haskell, you're also going to get a mastermind clue. Now, at this point, I will tell you that Mrs. Brathwaite made an impression, especially on Dr. Mortimer, because if you'll recall correctly, about a week or so ago, she hired a whole ballet performance to happen on the square, and I'm sure that has not gone unremarked upon by Dr. Mortimer in the ensuing days. Whether you have any real sense of who she is or what her deal is, I will tell you this. Well, actually, no, we'll say you do. I think in the days since, at some point, Dr. Mortimer probably would have looked into this woman, right? That would be a natural sort of thing to do. And you know some things about her. She is fabulously wealthy, obviously. But in 1834, which would have been some 30 to 40 years ago, she was actually captured by the Royal Navy when she was just 16 years old. She was then known as the legend. She was the legendary pirate queen of Barbuda. And her capture was considered a significant victory for the British Empire at the time. It was a young princess, Victoria, enchanted by stories of the pirate queen, who interceded on her behalf and won her freedom. Mrs. Brathwaite then turned her skills and her ships to legitimate enterprise, and that is how she got to be so rich. She has a connection to Queen Victoria from their youth, and she used her pirate ships to create a very, very thriving trade channel. So you know something about her, this woman who's expressed such an interest in Dr. Mortimer, your employer. And here she is again, one more time, showing up in the periphery, this time at the opium den. She's not there, literally. She's not there. But you do notice that Jenny Johnston has a letter from Mrs. Brathwaite in her hand. And you manage to read just a little bit of what it says. And what it says is, regarding your recent business proposal. That's the mastermind clue.
Fascinating.
I am curious at this point, what are you going to do?
As someone who has noticed that and knows that he shouldn't have, he is going to make a mental note. And I'd like to go to. Did we establish, sorry, where Soft Jimmy was killed?
You can find that out pretty easily. Yeah, it's probably in one of those. We'll say it's in one of those like little cubicle rooms where you can go and smoke opium.
I'd like to go. I think maybe I won't stick around there if it's. I think Haskell's got the scent of the Lurker, and I think that a plan is starting to formulate. And I think I'd like to go to the nearest possible church.
Before you leave the opium den, someone calls to you. Haskell, surely you aren't going to leave so quickly without saying hello to me. And we'll pick up with that in a moment. Ms. Jean-Baptiste, I think, like, brandishing those devil tarot cards, there's clearly something about the tarot deck itself that is very, like, it has some kind of power, right? Clearly. Some kind of, like, powerful object. And I think the fact that it's all devils has something to do with that too. But you are certainly, you are throwing down a gauntlet of sorts with them, like showing that they don't want to mess with you, right? And I think that works really, really well. I will say this. The complication is this. They drop you. Like, you can kind of collapse near the mouth of the wall opening. You're in a great position to keep investigating that if you want. And you can tell you've reasserted control. But I will tell you, the complication is going to be this. On your deck of cards, which, even though you've marked it, is still in your personal quarters and it's still an item that exists in the world, one of them has been secretly marked by the demon. And you won't notice it until you go to use them again. So just make a note on there that one of the cards has been marked by the demon. But otherwise, just give me the scene after you kind of reassert control here. I think the thing behind your eyes will say, "Sorry about that."
Aren't you just? Phoebe will dust herself off, stand to her full height. Everything looks as it's been left as when they first unearthed this room. So then I think she will step over the threshold into it. I think there's such a devastating sense of, I think, terror and abandonment that I think she would initially feel just recalling that young girl in the vision that she saw. But she has to try and push it aside because the thing that brought her here is the thing that she is looking for, and she's trying to find what drew it here in the first place.
So how do you do that?
Well, I'm gonna have to do a move, aren't I?
I mean, you can just describe how you generally search the place, or if you want to try to invoke a move, you can certainly do that too.
Okay. The spot that I saw in her vision, the spot that the corner that it lurked in, I want to start there.
Fantastic.
See if there's anything significant about that space.
Make the information move with sensitivity.
Sensitivity. $12.
Nice. How interesting indeed. Mastermind clues piling up this session. Very good, very good. Well, first things first. When you step inside, the darkness of that corner, there's a little bit of ambient light coming in from, I think they probably have like a candle or something lit, right? And also you'll see something in the corner glimmering as Mrs. Brathwaite steps out of the shadows, her blue jewel at her throat glimmering. Ms. Jean-Baptiste. What a pleasant surprise. And we'll cut there for a moment. I'm going to check in with Haskell, actually. Haskell, what do you do when you hear this person calling after you?
Haskell very subtly looks around to see if anyone else heard that person say his name.
Everyone
and how they
is
reacted.
so out of it right now. There's no one is going to have any kind of reaction to anything.
In which case, I feel, after my experiences with being briefly possessed, would draw me towards the unknown, and I think I'm going to go over and speak to the man who shouted my name.
Indeed, you find him. He is, as I described to Ms. Jean-Baptiste 2 sessions ago, whenever it was, this man lounging on the cushions, dressed in a gold brocade dressing gown, smoking opium, and wearing a mask in the shape of the sun. He has a little tiny hole to put the opium pipe in. You'll have to forgive me, Haskell. The mask, that is. I am a famous painter. I'm sure you would have seen my work if you are the museum-going sort. And I don't want people to think that I get my artistic inspiration from the poppy. How perfectly ordinary and common that would be.
I wouldn't call myself a patron of the arts, but your secret is safe with me.
Oh, splendid, splendid. How do things fare at Hargrave House? Have you sorted out this unfortunate matter?
And I think that Haskell just kind of stops and looks into the kind of the sockets of this mask. And he says,
If you look into the sockets of the mask, please make the day move. What are you afraid is going to happen right now?
Some cosmic nonsense that I'm not going to enjoy. I'm pretty sure.
That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Some cosmic nonsense.
Yeah, kind of real
Roll
summer love vibes.
Roll with sensitivity.
Okay. That's a 6.
A 6. I can see there's something you're drawn to, Haskell. What is it you see behind all my eyes? You find it's like one of those camera tricks where like the environment is pushing toward you and you're standing still, right? You find yourself pushing into his space, into his eyes. And before you know it, you find yourself facing away, looking out into the rest of the patrons. And you can hear the man standing behind you. He says, "Here, why don't you try it on? I'm sure you'll love what you see." As he pulls the mask down over your face, you must make the night move now. What are you afraid is going to happen in this moment?
I feel like cosmic nonsense isn't going to pass muster here, so I think that in some way Haskell will be lost to another dimension.
I don't know how that I can be worse than that, except to say I agree heartily. So you have the option at this point, instead of rolling, to just like knock it away and run out. So
no, I'm putting this thing on.
That's going to be with sensitivity again.
Can Haskell reach into his pocket and clasp something of this world that grounds him, and specifically the bundle of love letters that I had, that feels like it might tether him to this space, possibly?
Yeah, mark it and roll with advantage.
It's lucky that happened. 8.
8. He slips the mask over your face. There you are. Look around, but I must warn you, do not ever turn and look directly at me. What do you see? Indeed, he's showing you something. He's showing you the night Soft Jimmy was killed. You have the option, since you got a middle result, you have the option of making the information move here.
I will 100% take it.
With sensitivity again.
Okay. Letters won't help me now. That's a 3. But I'm willing to mark a mask and bump it up.
Well, hold that thought. We'll come back to this. Dr. Mortimer. I owe you another clue. Something you will find in Clara Yarborough's pocket as you are sewing her back together. It is a gold embossed card. Where have we seen that before? Except in this case, the gold embossed card is inviting the holder, a generic holder, whoever's holding it, to an extraordinary new exhibit of art and medicine. No address or date is given, and that is your clue.
They are not proud as they pocket that.
Indeed. You can certainly follow up on it and try to find out where this fabulous new exhibit is going to be. But in any case, that's your clue for the mystery.
There's no address. There's nothing on the other side.
Not at a glimpse. You can maybe check it out more later. Yeah.
Okay.
That is so hipster. Like, no address, nothing.
You gotta know. Yeah, you gotta know all the details. What do you do when... you're taking a body part, right? Wasn't that the plan?
I took the eyes.
Good.
Those baby blue eyes that reminded me of one Cora Stockhill was the
Do you want to
plan.
give us the flashback? Did you hold the eyes in your hand?
Yes. It is... As I pry them from the sockets, gently, because the texture of eyes is something altogether different. Many people would believe that eyes feel like jelly, like soft gelatin, but it is in fact crunchy. It has texture. It snaps beneath your fingers. So as she delicately pulls them out and gazes into them as they sit in the cradle of her palm, she remembers the first time she saw Cora's eyes. She wasn't on the stage. She was down a back alley. Dr. Mortimer had just finished a lesson and was on her way home to her husband. And in the smog, in the candlelight of 1,000 different lights seemingly in those dark alleys, from windows, from porches, she caught a glimpse of these baby blue eyes. These beautiful eyes that just transfixed her body and soul. And all of a sudden, 1,000 things clicked into place. 1,000 realizations. She walked straight up to this young, almost very plain-looking woman. But those eyes were so captivating. And she just asked, unbidden and out of nowhere and completely out of character, "My dear, do you by chance need a doctor?"
Fantastic. I will tell you. Are you? Where are you going to head once you're done with the mortuary? Are you going somewhere else?
There's not. I think the majority of my day was probably taken up by that. Yeah, I will head back, I think, unless there is time to investigate this gold card, but I don't imagine there is.
Maybe on the way to Hargrave House, we'll follow up
Yeah.
with it. But
And
before you
back
leave
to
the mortuary, however,
Yes.
you will overhear from another room adjoining the main entry area. You will hear Dr. Gestrel.
Oh, God.
My goodness. You are so funny. You are a truly, truly remarkable dinner guest. You must tell me the story again. Oh, I have to tell you, miss. I'm so happy that we've managed to fall into each other's lives. Oh, here, let me pour you another glass. That's good then. Candlelight. Yes, I think candlelight will do. He's having a one-sided conversation with someone in that room. What do you do, Dr. Mortimer?
Is there a keyhole?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh. Against her better judgment, just as she's walking away, has closed her own door behind her and can hear this coming through the door. She reasons with herself. You can't possibly... You couldn't have brought another living soul in here for dinner. Not even Gestrel is that mad. Fine. And she will peer through the keyhole.
Make the information move with composure.
Okay. I don't believe my composure is any good. A 1. Oh. 3. Oh.
You kneel down We see you move close to the eye, the little keyhole. And as you look inside the keyhole, you see another eye staring back at you from the other side. We'll come back to this in a bit. Ms. Jean-Baptiste, Mrs. Brathwaite is here in this anchorage, or what is anchorite hole, or whatever it is. She says, "It's so good to see you again, Miss Jean-Baptiste. How funny that we should keep running into each other like this in the most unusual places."
How indeed, Mrs. Brathwaite, was it?
Theodora Brathwaite, yes.
Theodora Brathwaite. Right.
You have to forgive me. It's a bit dusty down here. And she's starting to brush off some dust from her lovely blue dress that she's wearing. And she goes about with this jewel, which, as we've said several times now, is fantastically like a treasure, right? Like this, it's an unusual thing to be wearing about in the middle of the day.
I'm a bit curious as to why a lady of your stately manner would be here in the basement.
Oh, it's really nothing so terrible, and certainly nothing that Hargrave House needs to concern itself with. But I actually, I was helping with the renovations. I like to give to various charitable causes, church causes, and I was stopping by to see how my money was being spent. And I heard the stories about what they found, and I just wanted to come and take a look.
Have you come across anything that piqued your interest then?
No, I have not.
Hmm.
Well, I must be going, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. I'm sure whatever's in here is more your remit than mine. And she
A pleasure, as
steps out of the
always.
hole. But this is your mastermind clue. The fact that Theodora was nosing around in the demons, like in that walled up part of the abbey. What do you do after she leaves?
I think Phoebe has just a moment where she's wondering what else could possibly surprise her today and not wanting to find out at all. So
I owe you a clue too, if I'm not mistaken. You got a 10 plus. You got 12, right?
yes.
I want to first, before we get into the clue, I want to just talk about this place where she was found.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the wine cellar normally, or it is still that. You would have noticed as you came in a sort of constant draft. There's water damage everywhere. That's what Mrs. Brathwaite, of course, is spending her money on, is fixing that stuff. And of course, there's this big gaping hole. I have a paint the scene question that's just for you, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Inside the hole, several small toys were also found. Toys that presumably were buried with this young woman. When you hold them in your hands, do you feel comfort or terror, and why?
I think as Phoebe reaches for the first thing that she can get within her reach, which is a simple looking top, you spin it and it keeps going. And as she winds it about in her hands, tossing it, she again starts to feel that dread, that inexorable terror that she felt when she first stepped into this room. And I think as she peers deeper into it, she realizes that there is a latch to the toy. And when she opens it, inside there is something veiny and ichorous that is still wet and somehow malleable. As she drops it in shock, but when she looks at it again, it's just the top. And she looks for the latch again and it's gone. And she gets that same feeling as she looks over this array of toys on that shelf. There is something insidious and wrong with all of them.
I'm going to give you your clue in the form of a bit of insight, which is this. Demons detest children because children do not yet understand the concept of sin. If someone will note that, please. And that concludes your day phase, Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Let's check in briefly with Haskell. Haskell, what did you get on your die roll?
It was a 6. I'd love to say otherwise, but it was a 6.
A 6 indeed. You make the mistake, Haskell. Perhaps it's inadvertent. You're looking at the scene that you're looking at through the mask. You're seeing when the lurker approached Soft Jimmy. You're getting so caught up in what you see that you turn to realize you're staring directly into the face of the man who normally wears the sun mask. And you realize now that the mask is a blessing that he has bestowed upon you all. The mask is the thing that separates his all-encompassing, maddening, mind-snapping vastness from the mortal, grounded world. And you are gazing into it. And the last thing you hear is him saying, "I'm so sorry. You were not meant to look upon eternity. We know nothing of you ever again. Unless you put on a different mask."
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of masks,
Indeed.
I have one ready to go.
Please do.
Unless you want to save it for later, but I'm happy to do it now. Okay, my prompt is, narrate a flashback to your young adulthood before you were a servant that shows what a charmed life you lived. Okay. It is a balmy Mediterranean evening. And we see the silhouettes of 2 men running across the rooftops in the old town of somewhere that's probably in the French Riviera. As we get closer to the action, we recognize both men. Leading the way is the older, grey-haired, handsome man from The Last Mask. And behind is the man that we know as Haskell. And they are cackling with glee. Haskell is holding something under his right arm. And they are kind of running flat out, jumping across gaps. We can hear in the background there is a kind of a siren wailing. And they reach a point where the jump would be too far. So the man ahead whose name is Blake, lays out a plank across the gap. And he crosses quickly and nimbly and gets to the other side. Below is this alleyway, which is kind of like urine yellow lit. It's gloomy, not particularly appetizing to fall from such a great height into. And Haskell is about to cross and pauses, and Blake motions for him to throw what he's holding. And Haskell does. And we see it sail through the air, and the wrapping that it's kind of been swaddled in comes off, and we see an exceptionally expensive vase sailing through the air, caught by Blake. Haskell laughs and starts across the plank. But he gets halfway, and his hubris and his confidence overtakes him, and he tries to go too quickly, and he then feels himself falling. And this is it. This is how he's going to die. He just knows it. But when he lands, he doesn't. He doesn't feel any pain. He just notices an awful, sweaty smell. And he realizes that he has landed on his back in a laundry basket that is open in the alleyway below. And he can't help but laugh. And he laughs for what must be 2 or 3 minutes until Blake appears in the opening of the basket. And upon seeing Haskell, joins in. But then the two men's laughter is interrupted by the kind of proximity of the sirens moving in. And Blake jumps into the laundry basket and pulls the lid closed, and we hear the gendarmes running past saying, "Allez, allez, allez, bush, bush, bush." And we hear the feet thunder by, and as Haskell is laying in the dark with Blake on top of him, his hair tickling his nose and his breath in his mouth, he can't help but feel that he is the luckiest son of a bitch on earth.
Fantastic, thank you. We won't see what happened at the end of that scene, except that you did not get sucked into oblivion, but it does end your day phase. Actually, I want to, since it would have bumped your roll up to 7 to 9, I'm going to say that, was the 7 to 9, that was a day move or that was a night move, right?
It was the information move.
Oh, it was the information move. Oh, I went kind of hard then on the information move.
I was going to say, but I was into it, so
yeah, it was a bit hard. But it was like a follow up though. Like you knew the dangers. I'll give you a clue in any case. The thing you will notice in the scene of Soft Jimmy and the Lurker is that Soft Jimmy is whittling something. It's a boat. It's a boat that looks like a Viking sailing ship. It's remarkably good and well, like it looks really convincing actually. And he just raises it up to the darkness and then tilts his head to the side, revealing in your vision a quickening, pulsing vein, an offering to the Limehouse Lurker. And that is your clue. And that will wrap your day phase. let me go to Dr. Mortimer.
I so hoped you'd forgotten me.
Dr. Mortimer, there is an eye staring back at you, and you hear, Dr. Mortimer, is that you peering through my keyhole? And he opens the door. Dr. Gastrell is there. He says, well, you might as well join us. And
Oh, gosh.
there is a dining table set up, candles, wine, food. You were working a long time today, and so he's had time to set all this up. And perhaps most importantly, at one end of the table is the body from Kilburn Abbey posed on the chair as if she was the dining companion.
No!
He says, I can get you a chair, no trouble whatsoever. But perhaps you could step in so we could close this door.
I believe you have mistaken my intentions entirely, Dr. Gastrell. I had dropped my scalpel and had I was simply kneeling down
What's that?
to fetch it.
What is that? What is that, my dear? You would love for Dr. Mortimer to stay and break bread with us this evening? Well, how can you say no to that, Dr. Mortimer? Look at her face.
Oh, look at her face. Oh, gosh, Dr. Gastrell, how you flex my patience. I must decline. I simply must. There is business I have discovered with Clara Yarborough that it simply cannot wait. Good day to you. And she will just attempt to run.
How does this make you feel, this whole scene?
Oh, humiliated is not the word. Humiliated that she was caught. That she indulged in that curiosity, knowing how insane Gastrell is, knowing the thoughts she already has about him, and thinking, what would be the harm? What would be... And then being confronted with a scene that is an affront to medicine, to science, and to all good doctorly nature. It is an affront, an utter affront, and her cheeks are burning with embarrassment and rage as she storms out of the building. And also worse, she tried to make an excuse. She has nothing to answer for this man. He is an affront. And she felt belittled? No, utterly. Just, fury at herself.
I'm giving you a condition that is hypocrite. Because you are trying to bring a person back to life from
It's different.
death.
This is for science. He's a pervert. I can't. Oh, God damn. Hypocrite it is.
Indeed, that will wrap your day phase. So that is the day phase wrapped. Let's go ahead and head over to the desk. What an eventful day phase that was. Do we have any playbook moves that fire off in the desk? I can't recall. Okay, fantastic. And I will ask you if you wish to do a Hargrave House night phase or a London night phase. I will note that time is tight, but you can search Hargrave House again tonight if you wish.
I'm personally thinking that I think we've got enough to answer the Lurker and resolve the Lurker tonight. So I would be up for a London night phase.
I too would be up for a London night phase.
Well, then, since you have put on the table the possibility of answering this next question, I'm happy to go ahead and dive right into that, unless you all need some time to think about a solution.
I've got a theory. It's not great, but I've just been wearing that mask and I'm feeling confident.
What do you got?
So if it's a child, what was its home life like? I think that this kid's life was like really puritanical,
Mhm.
and perhaps it's been striking out at the things that it was foisted upon it when it was a kid. So I'm thinking that like the Lurker seems to have a puritanical streak because he was being very rude to people who were doing things he didn't agree with. The wooden slatted numbers for denoting hymns, as well as the Bible pages, or that's just context for our purposes. They are things that they used to do whilst they were in church services. They were maybe the kid who was responsible for changing the numbers and collecting the Bibles up at the end of the day. I think we mentioned Noah's Ark back in the in one of the previous clues, because that was the page was missing from the Bible. And I think the Viking sailing ship that Jimmy was whittling reminded the kid of Noah's Ark, and the kid hates the Noah's Ark story because he loves animals, and where most of the animals in the world were wiped out by the flood, he finds it really upsetting. And the Gardenias, I think, are
this is the one, right?
This is the one. So I think that this kid lost one of their parents, perhaps, and the Gardenias were perhaps flowers that were presented at the funeral, and they weren't appropriate, and it caused some kind of like kerfuffle, and that's now a real traumatic memory for them.
Can I add to that, or can I twist that a little?
Please do.
So last time I was like, oh, gardenias, I'm fairly certain they're a coffee flower. In the language of flowers, gardenias mean purity and innocence.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah.
I think maybe the woman vomiting them is maybe, again, like a parental figure and being covered in flowers of innocence, and that child has lost that parent covered and gone from them is that innocence.
I almost wonder too, it almost like feels like maybe the child was like angry about something the mother was doing in the household, that was which has caused it to be very weirdly
what if
puritanical.
The mother was giving kind of like alms or charity to sex workers, and was kind of castigated by the church for doing so.
Oh, that's
nice.
Good. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts here that they want to throw in? Are we feeling good about this? Wren, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm feeling good about that. I was just wondering, because we have this child lost this parental figure, but what if that was their first victim?
Oh, now that's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a bit strong.
Yeah,
that's very strong, though.
That is good, clean fun, and I'm
into
it very much.
Very much. It also makes me wonder, like how the kid got the vampirism, right? Like,
yeah,
feels like there's a whole story there, and none of it's good. I mean, I'm into this. This all feels very strong. Despite the strength of the theory, it's still just flat roll.
Yeah. And Jason, remind me, because the new edition has changed, if we use the threat-related mask, can we use that on the answer a question? We can.
Yes. In fact, no matter what you get, if you can bump up the result if you use the threat mask, like just marking that bumps it up. So.
Okay. Cool. So we'll see how we roll, but like I'm putting that on the table as something to happen if we want perhaps an easier resolution. Okay, here we go. It's a 9.
Okay, so you can mark that and bump it to a 10. So.
I would suggest doing that because it will make the resolution slightly easier. Is that right?
Yeah,
that's correct.
absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. And also, it's just the last time to do it too. So, the Mask of the Sun. Each hunter narrates a dream they once had of primordial earth, back in time across the ancient seas, back in time when the spirits walked, when the sun was new, and the old gods held court. Think on that on the break, but that's what you're tasked with. We'll probably do that pretty early on in the night phase. Let's keep going with the dusk phase. You have unlocked the opportunity at this point to resolve the threat by luring the vampire into a scene reminiscent of its past life, and then either destroy it or make arrangements for it to feed safely. So that is the deal there. What does everyone want to do tonight? I'll go around the table and start with Haskell, since you kind of took the lead on that.
I want to resolve the Lurker. I think going to recreate a typical Sunday service at a small church with some animal toys that perhaps Miss Jean-Baptiste found in the wall that might...
Are you going to get some sex workers in there just to really piss the vampire off? Is that the plan?
I can only do what I can do. I've got a short period of time to put this party together. But I think I'd like to do that. And in terms of the resolution, like, I ordinarily believe that killing a child is wrong. I want to say that right now. But this one seems like a real prick. So I'm up for not trying to keep this kid and feed him.
It is up to you all. I will note that we do have I think we have a line on like killing kids, or maybe a veil. I can't remember, but
I believe it's a veil.
Yeah, so but it's also the weird situation of like, it's a vampire, so what do we? Yeah. I will let you all control the flow and pace of that as far as that goes. So Dr. Mortimer, what are you going to do tonight?
I think I want to find out more around Sally No Face and their identity. I want to maybe look at... There is... In the paper, there was a note about the song that the children would sing.
Oh, yeah, the Sally No Face.
I know, like, that would be sort of local to specific areas, maybe, of London. Maybe it wouldn't be all of London. So maybe visiting that area and seeing if she can pick up on it as the kids are heading off to bed, or as, sort of drunken patrons are maybe chanting it, singing it, whatever it may be. And if Sally is maybe frequenting or has something around the Rouge.
That works for me. Yeah, I can work
okay.
Ms. Jean-Baptiste, are you helping out with the vampire, or are you doing something else?
I will help Haskell with the vampire. Finally.
I would say that, like, if you did want to do something else, I'm not going to break the habit of a lifetime and just try and deal with this by myself. So if you did want to do something else, I'm happy to do that.
Oh, no, because you're going to help me with the demon.
This deal's getting worse all the time.
Indeed,
actually, would I be able to take that back? Would I be able to help with the vampire as well? I've just realized, So if I wind that back and say, I'll help with the Limehouse Lurker tonight, if that's all right. I will stick with Haskell.
Sounds like everyone's taking a trip to this church.
Yes.
So that sounds good to me. Let's take a look at our phase, do what's next here. Well, I think we're going to do the Mask of the Sun kind of at the top of the night phase, and so we'll be thinking about that. We also have to do the Unseen. So let's go to our Unseen tab. Tonight's Unseen is going to be... What do we want to do here? Let's have a change of pace, shall we? Everything's been so grimy and grim. Let's have something lovely tonight. We're going to do Brown's Hotel. This is on line 21 of the Character Keeper. And prompt 1 will be... Oh, this is a 4 prompt. That means I have to do something. Prompt 1 will be Matt. Prompt 2 will be... Jess, you can do prompt 2. I'll do prompt 3. That's my speed. And Wren, you can do prompt 4. We'll take a 10-minute break. When we come back, we will do the night phase, including the Mask of the Sun. Brown's Hotel. None of the 117 rooms at Brown's Hotel on Albemarle Street are the same, though they each have housed some of the most fashionable people you'll find in London or anywhere. A concierge, Teddy Miller, delights in spying on the hotel's posh clientele. Matt, Teddy puts his ear up against the door of a wealthy young bachelor. What does he hear that makes him desperately want the life of said bachelor?
So Teddy has padded these halls every night this week, and each time he has passed, he has heard through the door varying degrees of Dionysian excess. And tonight he puts his ear to the door and hears the bachelor and a young female companion who Teddy knows them instantly. He can picture who it is. He knows what room they're staying in, what they were wearing earlier today when they were at breakfast. And then he hears a young man laugh. And again, he picks the room number and the description of this man. And he stops counting at 5 people in that room. And he just kind of closes his eyes and listens and wishes he could be the 6th in the room.
As we dive into our scenes here, I will remind you all about Echoes in the Night. You get an XP if you make a thematic or sensory connection between the unseen and the hunter scenes. At the same time that Teddy is hearing another world on the other side of this door, you all might be dreaming of other worlds too, perhaps in the rest before you head out for your long night. Who would like to narrate the Mask of the Sun, in which you dream of walking to another place?
The darkness between the stars that are not yet born is a black that cannot be described in words, until it is broken by a blinding light. Dusts and stars and heavenly bodies dance all around in this cosmic ballet of never-ending victory. Life flourishes and begins. Figures form in the dust, not human. These are gods. These are the ones that would shape the world. But they have come from the black, the unknowable dark, the unfathomable. And they are cruel. And they are twisted. They create man, and then rip from him his rib, and so is born, screaming and in agonizing pain, bleeding into this beautiful world, a woman on her knees, subservient forever. And the gods laugh as they create the first dynamic that will shape the rest of what is known.
There are preparations to be made in this abandoned church in Limehouse. Preparations mundane, worldly, and preparations extraordinary or otherworldly. Haskell, tell me about the mundane ones.
I think that we would make the church look as if it is ready to receive worshippers, which involves lighting of several hundred candles, maybe dressing the altar slightly, clearing down the pews, just making it look like, and this is like an abandoned church, it's kind of derelict, which is, so it's no mean feat. And I think that to pull this off, we need to make this look like somewhere that this child would have found the joy of worship. And I think we've done an all right job, to be honest.
Ms. Jean-Baptiste, what are the extraordinary measures that are taken?
I think this church is sanctified in its own right, but in order to contain a creature such as this, to prevent its potentially untimely escape, it needs certain barriers in place. And I think Phoebe is as well treating this as a bit of practice for something larger that she has to do. And so I think she has gathered a book from her room, one she doesn't use very often, but she's trying to make sure that she does the rites right in a way that won't desecrate this place intensely. I don't think she wants to pull on darker energies just yet. The kind of potential that flows naturally within her, I think she's trying to call on first. And it's harder.
Fantastic. Back to Brown's hotel and Teddy. Jess, Teddy rummages through the personal effects of an actress staying at the hotel while she is out. What does he find that makes him desire her or desire to be her?
He finds that everything is in a almost perfect condition. The stockings are not ripped. The underwear is so clean, so fresh. And there is no hint of a lover. No hint of innocence lost. This woman is so pure. Though an actress, though known to thousands, she has retained her dignity, her innocence, her purity. Something he cannot say that he has, knowing how much he wishes he could be in the room next door and enjoying that party. But he wishes he was free of this sin as he sniffs that underwear again.
Dr. Mortimer, what do you make of all this?
It is what it must be. The clues have led us here into this house of God. But for all the superstition that is going around, this vampire is clearly following a pattern. And so I will indulge. I will indulge their little display. However, what we know is that this thing is attracted not just to the puritanical essence of childhood, but also it is seeking out sin that seeks to ruin that puritanical nature. An extreme measure maybe that we could introduce. We place something sinful on the opposite side of this puritanical trap, on the other side of the altar, to lure it in and trap it within.
Haskell, this is all going on. Plans are being made. It's quite late now at this point. And you'll hear someone from the front of the church popping their head in. Is someone in there?
I think I put my hand up to kind of silence everyone else, and I'm gonna... Is it coming from outside?
They're like standing in the doorway, yeah.
I'm gonna sidle up as close as I can to the doorway and kind of just put my kind of ear there, listening for anything within striking distance, I would say.
I would love to hear about what you dreamed of, this other world, Ms. Jean-Baptiste.
There's a sea, green, almost verdant, that laps against a shore not of sand but almost opalescent pearls. And once a cycle, what the cycle is unclear. It is not a year, it is perhaps a millennia, but once a cycle, something emerges and an exchange is made. And the cycle occurs without fail, and as it does, something changes this time. The creature emerges almost like man, but not quite, something beyond the reaches of normal comprehension. It strides, no, it slithers, no, it lopes out of the ocean. It is unclear, all at once and none at all. It waits to meet someone, its brother, its kin, and they exchange. What is it? Love. Indeterminate, indefinite. And the brother waits, no twitches, no runs to meet the other as it comes, and it does not offer love. It offers pain and death. And the creature is not confused because it expected it, and it did not expect it at all, and it bleeds red into this verdant green as death becomes what it is and has always been and shall remain. Death becomes part of this cycle, never to be undone.
Oh, Teddy. Teddy draws a hot bath for a pair of good-looking young men staying in the same room. He knows the score, though. He's been in the world long enough to know that these men aren't just friends. They're not just work colleagues trying to save on money by staying in the same room at the fancy hotel. No, no, no. And he's happy to play his part. He's very modern in his sensibilities, our Teddy. He draws the bath. The hotel has running water. That makes it quite a thing. The tub fills with water. It's a huge tub, big, extra long clawfoot tub. He fills it with the water. But he takes a few extra steps. Some candles. He lays the candles around and he lights them. He has a little sachet of flower petals or smell good things that he sprinkles into the water. He takes a pair of silk robes, one blue, one gold, neatly folded, and he sets them near the door. But he has a sneaking suspicion that they won't need those robes very long. He makes sure everything is just so. And he wonders if he'll have a chance to help tidy up when it's all said and done. In case he does, he needs to know what the water tastes like right now. And so he takes a little scoop and commits it to memory. And then steps out into the main room to let the gentleman know that everything has been prepared. Oh my goodness. This man, just an old beggar, a drunk perhaps, he kind of stumbles in to the church and he's like, is someone here? I was told to come here. I was told there was something going on. Desecration of a sacred space. What is the desecration, Dr. Mortimer?
It is at maybe this point I would like to pull out the flesh terrarium.
Fantastic. You want to tell us what that looks like?
From deep within the confines of this many-pocketed coat, she pulls out what appears to be an old lantern, except it does not hold a candle within. There are pustules and fibroids. There are cysts. There are 100 small and yet large amalgamated elements of man. A homunculus that writhes and moves but has no face, but is clearly alive. And she places it on the other side of the altar, in between her, Haskell, Phoebe, and the beggar. I believe what you are looking for is here. Would you like me to tell you who it's made of? Would you like me to tell you their ages?
The beggar says, he says you do not need to tell him. He does not need to hear about your blasphemy. He will be here momentarily. He told me that I was to bring him to you, that I was just an old drunk, and that this is the only good I would ever serve. Oh, I can feel him coming now. And at this point, he begins floating into maybe 20 feet off the ground or so. What are you doing in the meantime, Haskell?
Haskell is inching towards the font of holy water and has picked up a cup and is scooping out a portion ready to throw.
Ms. Jean-Baptiste, what are you doing?
I think Phoebe is glancing at the man, but keeping an eye out for where this thing is going to come from. and is looking in this diary, waiting for it to answer a question for her.
The man floating now, he looks almost like an interesting mirror image of the discarded Jesus on the cross near the altar. He says, he said he would be here. He said that even my tainted blood would be enough to bring him here. Oh, he's coming. I can feel it. He's coming now. Oh. And at this point, the man's shirt has fallen open, and you can see just a thin rivulet of blood appear on his belly and chest. And then you can see the skin splitting, and little tiny fingers pushing out of him as if coming from inside his stomach. And the flesh is parted, and there's just a single pale, blood-streaked tiny face staring at you all as guts and blood spatter down onto the church floor. And the child says, "Deviltry, blasphemers, sinners, take your mockery from that place. Remove it now." He looks at you, Miss Jean-Baptiste. "Witch, you are a curse to this place." And then he begins just pushing through, disemboweling the man as he crawls through the man's belly, his fullness, and he hops down onto the floor of the church, and the man falls to the ground quite dead. Haskell, what do you do?
I launch the holy water.
It hits him. I don't need a roll here. Just how does he react?
I think it gives Haskell a second, and which is all kind of he wanted. And now he's going to try and drive the Lurker back into the abyss.
I think I think it like distracts him just enough. It might even burn him. Like there's some power there. And he's kind of just like flailing around, and he's immediately getting ready to like run towards, particularly I think Dr. Mortimer, because the flesh golem thing is too much for him, and he's running towards you. But Ms. Jean-Baptiste, what do you do?
So now seeing the creature in person for the first time, using the diary that is not mine, can I find a way to tell Haskell the best place to strike to achieve his goal?
I think that's great. Yeah. Just go ahead and just do it now. Where how are we doing this?
Okay.
So the way I'm imagining it is like the water, like the vampire was going to maybe run towards the two of you, but Haskell splashed it, and so now it's turned and it's going towards Dr. Mortimer, right? And that's your opening.
Okay. So Phoebe, with the book already open, she asks it in a language that I think she half doesn't realize isn't the Queen's English. And it responds, "The heart or the head, sever the two." And so she turns to Haskell. "Sever his head from his body, or through the heart, or perhaps both. Good luck, Haskell."
As the vampire it's like racing towards you. It's like loping, right? Like skittering towards you, Dr. Mortimer. And it says, "You think you are God. You are not God. You are a sinner like all the rest. Haskell, finish this thing off.
With a bark, Mortimer goes, "Now, Haskell!"
Haskell takes that moment afforded to him by the holy water impact and hears what Miss Jean-Baptiste says. And he summons all the courage and strength that he has. He reaches inside his neck of his shirt and he pulls out his gold St. Christopher, which he wraps around his knuckles. And then he reaches into the back of his long overcoat and pulls out 2 bones from a bucket that was gifted to him by the doctor. And he strikes them into the sign of a crucifix and charges.
I don't need any die rolls here. I just want to know how you destroy the thing.
So I think that as Haskell charges, the Lurker sees the cross and is instantly drawn to it because that's a symbol of hope or whatever, but then sees that it's bones. It's a subversion. And again, that just gives Haskell that second he needs to plunge one jagged point of this femur into the heart and then bring the other one across its throat. And it's over as quick as that.
And so passes the Limehouse Lurker. Let's make our last stop at Brown's Hotel. Wren. At the end of the night, Teddy returns to his tiny, dingy flat in East London. What do we see in Teddy's apartment that shows how he tries to incorporate bits of glamour into his dull gray life?
As Teddy sheds the uniform, begins to don his pajamas, we notice that he has a not silken, but satin. It's close enough. It's soft and it has a bit of the sheen to it. He puts that on over his pajamas, and as he sits by his little wardrobe, it's impossible to call it a vanity, but it has a mirror, and he looks out as the lamplights begin to light the London evening. He pulls open a little drawer, and there's a little bit of makeup, a bit of rouge that he might have procured from one of the older ladies that stayed at the hotel. Wouldn't notice it missing. And he just applies a bit of powder to his face, gives himself a look, and tries to be pleased.
We'll wrap up our night phase. Haskell, you didn't dream of another world. You glimpsed it. What did you see?
Haskell begins this dream falling at breakneck speed through the shifting, nebulous matter of a newborn sun. He falls through every element present in this creation, through gas, through water, and every time he's expecting to slow down, he speeds up, and he hears a voice, and the voice says, "Haskell." And we see Haskell falling towards 2 dark voids in the face of a newborn sun.
That is our night phase. First things first, we will collect rewards if a threat was resolved. And indeed, the Limehouse Lurker was resolved, and you get to collect rewards. Rewards work slightly differently in this new edition of the game. And so the first thing that everyone is entitled to is you get to take a memento from the investigation. This can be something related directly to the Lurker, something about the opium den or the school, just anything that, and it has to be, and it can be something that's like implied. It doesn't even have to be something we saw, right? But you get something from the investigation. You have to ask another player or myself to tell you what that is. And then there's another reward, but let's do this first. So
I've got something for Miss Jean-Baptiste.
Oh, okay.
I've got the Man in the Sun Mask's spare pipe.
Oh, fantastic. Add that to your PQs. Haskell, where would you like yours from?
The good doctor, please.
You get the crucifix from the altar. But in maybe the fight, maybe it was premeditated, maybe pre-planned. The end of it has been sharpened into a stake. Hopefully powerful enough against the darkness.
Little backup plan. Fantastic. And Dr. Mortimer, who do you want to give you yours?
I would love mine from Ms. Jean-Baptiste.
You get the fangs.
Oh. little tiny fangs. little wee
tiny baby fangs.
Fantastic. The other reward in the Limehouse Lurker is a new hunter will join Hargrave House. You all have to decide who this new resident of Hargrave House is. Is it going to be Jenny Johnston, who is particularly helpful when it comes to helping out with matters in East London? You get an extra clue when you consult her on these matters. Or will it be the Man in the Sun Mask, who is particularly helpful when it comes to helping out with matters related to other worlds?
To move into the house?
To move into the house. Now, it could be, you could have gotten the vampire if you had made arrangements for it to feed, but you did not, so. But you have to choose as a group.
Breakfast time is about to get real weird in our great house. My vote's for Jenny Johnston because we still have the Man on the Sun Mask card in.
Sure.
Yes.
So we could use him as a one-off, and Jenny Johnston, might be a helpful connect.
Yes, and was it Jenny Johnston that had a link to Mrs. Braithwaite or Mrs. Braithwaite?
Oh,
Or
yeah,
am I
there's a
making-
link between
yeah.
them. Yeah.
I think Jenny Johnston would be most intriguing to have around.
Very well,
Yes.
then I will add Jenny
I
Johnston.
do not want that man.
Do not want that man in this house. Got it.
Jenny Johnston.
One man is enough.
Intrigued by the work you do at Hargrave House and wanting to contribute, will become a new resident of Hargrave House. This is a new type of a new type of character called a resident.
Lovely.
So for any mechanics that implicate side characters does not affect her because she's not a side character. She's a resident. And whenever you consult her on matters related to, let's see here, consult her on matters related to East London, then you get an extra clue on the information move. There's also another thing that happens. Every resident has like their own little like countdown, and every time you consult with them, it counts that down and something triggers. So just know that as well.
Oh.
And so that concludes rewards. Let's keep going here. Dawn questions. You are all getting credit for the first two, answering a question and resolving a threat. Echoes in the night. I think I heard echoes from everyone, but if someone's not sure if they got one, please say so. But I'm pretty sure I heard one from everybody, like the water, the blood references. Wren, yours was really cool. I forgot what it was, but I remember thinking, oh, that's really cool. What was that? I can't remember. But
Death becomes the primordial seed.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a bunch. There's something else too that you may not even been doing intentionally. But in any case, everyone gets that one. Mm-hmm. And let's go to Haskell. Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
I didn't get time, but I don't know whether the connection at the start with Clara Yarborough and the thimbles counts. Because it was
I'm into it. Yeah, I'm into it.
Okay.
Did you ensure Dr. Mortimer got credit for your triumphs?
No, sadly not.
Dr. Mortimer, did you put your hands in a pile of guts and love every moment of it? Yes, you did.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Did you secretly engage in romantic or emotional behavior at odds with your aloof, logical exterior?
I looked through that keyhole.
You did. I will give it to you.
Thank you.
I think what would have been, I think you really would have earned it had you gone into the dining room.
Had I gone in, yeah.
Yeah.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yeah. Ms. Jean-Baptiste, did you have a face-to-face encounter with Dark Entity? Yes, you did. Did you perform a ritual?
Not fully, I don't think.
I'm thinking back. I don't think we quite got there with that, but you did get the others. Fantastic. I think everyone got at least an advance there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. We can talk about that next time. And I think that's all we've got for now. So
I've got a dawn move.
Oh, what is your dawn move?
So, memory is the servant. During the dawn phase, you may tell the keeper you are claiming a memento, which can be any object from a scene in the recently concluded night phase you could have reasonably acquired. If you keep the memento, add it to your personal quarters. If I give it to another hunter, mark XP and add it to their personal quarters.
Oh, we can do. But what is it, first of all?
Dr. Mortimer, you now have in your possession a cup which is filled with a liquid which is half holy water, half vampire blood.
Fantastic.
Furious, utterly furious, but thank you.
Fantastic. You can mark your XP as well. That's cool. With that, that concludes our phase and indeed our session. Let's go to Stars and Wishes.
I can't say how long I've waited to hear someone say the sentence. I think at this point I'd like to pull out the flesh terrarium.
Incredible.
So fair play. Jess, you know way too much about, or you know like an unnerving amount about cutting up bodies.
I've watched far too much CSI.
Deeply upsetting. Wren, your masks were incredible. Just so in line with what the vessel does. So perfect. Jason, it made me laugh when you were like, oh, what did I do with that monk last time? Like, did he pull his head off or his tongue out or something? Like, you can't remember all this from this catalogue of filth that you're coming up with. You just can't remember this one entry. But yeah, I really loved your solo paint the scene as well, Wren. I thought that was really beautiful with the spinning top and also really gross. Like it's just an unctuous flesh inside a spinning top is a ghastly image I don't think I'll be able to shake.
I think you're all vile and I love you so much for it. Wren with Phoebe once again just rolling into the jaws of death immediately and then reaching for the devil tarot cards. I wasn't expecting that, and the way you played that was gorgeous. The descriptions of morphine at breakfast, indulging in those vices in only such a way that a vessel would. It's so becoming. It suits you down to the ground. It's so cool. And Matt, I love how determined you are to really get through this, like actually solve everything, or we are utterly fucking around, I think, at times. Thank you for guiding us and continuing to be the guiding star that means that we're not all dead. But also like the way that you took down the vampire in particular, the use of the holy water, the use of the space, the description of how to turn innocence from sin from innocence. It was magic. It was true magic. So big fan of that. And Jason, the description from Brown's was beautifully intimate and really understanding. And then you drank the bathwater, and it was the perfect punctuation. You know how to punctuate every description really, really well to really give it the best, like most unsettling feel. So thank you so much for that.
My goodness. Jess, I love that we got to see the Doctor like outside of her comfort zone just for a brief with that interaction with Dr. Gastrell. Just the best thing. But I loved seeing that moment and her getting so frustrated with herself. When we normally see her either in like a frenzy of joy and rapture at carving into something deceased. So I liked seeing that side, and I liked that moment of, because we don't interact that much past the first episode. So I liked having that moment at breakfast, just the briefest interaction, just like, oh, don't use this. It's not clean. Just leaving. It's like, I don't care what you do. Just do it right. So I enjoy that's kind of the momentum that Phoebe and the Doctor have going. Haskell as well. I like how brusque isn't the word, but like kind of like straight and on point Haskell is, but then we get to see in like the mask that, you know, Haskell has like this light side and laughs and all of this light and energy to him that is just not present. It's just like, but why? But why? And so I love to see that beginning to unfurl. And then Jason, I wish you'd put me in less danger, but no, but I love it. I actually love every second of it. I love the descriptions that you do. I love just getting to see this unfold with everyone's like different moments that are happening, and like building all of these character relations and bringing back the characters that we've met, and like being fairly consistent with them as well, to our detriment. But you know, I do enjoy seeing them again. So yeah, I'm having a great time.
Yeah, stars. Yeah, I'll echo a lot of what everyone has said already, but I've had a really good time. I like, everyone does a really good job like sinking into the masks, which I think is great. That's probably like a real highlight for me this session. The way you all kind of like really sink into the storytelling part of it is really, really enjoyable. We get to see like different sides of these characters. We get to learn a little bit more about what makes them tick. And I also thought the Mask of the Sun, where you all narrated the other worlds, was really fascinating and horrifying in some sense. And it had that sort of like immensity, and it was just, I don't know, it was a lot. Like there's a scene in the second episode of Penny Dreadful that directly inspired the Mask of the Sun, where, if anyone's ever seen it, one of the there's this medium, this lady who's like a medium, and she's beginning to channel the spirits, and she does so by talking about the primordial sea and about going across the primordial sea and making contact with the old gods, right? And that's kind of, that directly inspired that Mask of the Sun. And I really feel like all of you like really were like in that mode, you know, like you were kind of giving scenes like that as well. So that just felt really good. I was very, very pleased with that. Love the just everyone was really like kind of pushing into the uncomfortable and dangerous places today. And I think the Between is always best when you do that. And so, yeah, just stars for that all around. I guess my only wish, honestly, is just, I'm just excited to get Ms. Quinn back next time and get her back into the story and see what she was doing during the whole time while you all were taking care of the Limehouse Lurker. And so, but yeah, it was a really good time. Yeah.
One last star, because I remembered then how we all reacted, and I could see it go round when you described the entrance of the vampire through the man. That I think broke all of us. We were all looking around just like, what? It was awful, and I loved that. But yeah, just one more out there for that.
Thanks, indeed.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and especially a huge thanks to Jason and the Gauntlet for partnering up with us on this actual play and for letting us get our grubby little mitts on the nearly finished new edition of the game. And once again, a huge thank you to my patrons who help keep the lights on here and also allow me to do indulgent things such as this and pay my incredibly talented cast and crew for their time. Thank you, a million times thank you. I'll be back next time, but until then, it's farewell and safe passage.